All right, YouTube, what's up? It's Jack here. Happy to bring you another high quality interview, this time with the one and only Josh Olszewicz. Now, this was a really cool conversation. We got to talk about the falling wedge breaking up, the Ichimoku Cloud, all kinds of things. Not only that, we talked about what to expect in the coming short term, medium term, and long term. And one of the things I pointed out is already happening. I don't know if you've seen the markets today and yesterday, but yeah, I don't want to spoil it. It's in the video. I hope you enjoy it. And don't forget to come and catch the live stream over at twitch.tv/CryptoJack. My friend, the floor is yours. And if you pull up,
I gotta,
you're,
I
you're
gotta
already,
remember here.
yeah, you're already doing it. Okay.
Part of me is like, is my analysis stale or am I just like looking at the wrong stuff over and over again? Do you ever get this feeling where it's like,
Yeah, well, macro stuff is always like that. Anything that's like daily candles ish, you're always gonna have that feeling.
that's why I like spreading out a little bit, branching out, everybody's been like this macro expert, geopolitical expert, right? They're looking at the
COVID
Fed.
expert, all that. Yeah.
Yeah, COVID expert. They're looking at the Fed, they're looking at rates, which is good. I think everybody should be like learning that stuff. It doesn't mean you need to be an expert, but you need to be able to loosely speak the language and understand that a lot of that stuff's certainly been driving what's going on lately. That's for sure. Um, and you need to know that there's a rates meeting coming up this week for the US of A as well as BOE and ECB. You need to know that the DXY is a basket of fiat garbage, mostly the euro. And if we are not tightening as much as they are, then the DXY goes down, the risk goes up. Like those general things really help you, because if you're just blindsided by that and you're like, oh, I'm short, this looks great, which, it doesn't look terrible for a short here. We'll get to that. But you don't want to be blindsided by like, news stuff, which is definitely driving what's going on here. That isn't to say that like the Fed's going to move the market, but it's just good to know, it's
Yeah.
you need to know at bare minimum, like rates up, risk down generally,
I'll say very quickly. I remember when we were, your cloud stuff triggered, my Wyckoff stuff triggered, and it was around 60K the second time, 60, 70K. We got that kind of heads up of, hey, this may be the top. And right around that time, we were having that discussion. Anybody with any relevance or any connection to the traditional markets, we were having that discussion of like, hey, they're talking about raising rates, and literally every time in history they raise rates, there's a recession or a recessionary event. Like this happens every time. And I remember it was kind of laughed off back then, especially by the crypto market. Like, no, we're completely decoupled. That's not a thing. We're not going to do that. And now everybody, the whole crypto market is focused on it. So I can't wait for the day where the inverse happens, to where it's not as, important. Whatever happens in the traditional market is not as impactful on price action for, like, say, Bitcoin.
yeah. I mean, I said that to my team all the time. I'm like, look, the moment we can stop talking about this stuff is like that's when it's really risk on, because like that means the Fed's either paused or pivoted. Pivot is not pausing, by the way. A lot of people are like, oh, the Fed's going to pivot. They're not going to pivot. um they're going to pause for sure, then they're going to pivot, but that's coming later, if that, this year anyway. Yeah, so that's coming up eventually, but again, you need to know that, like, it helps to know when the meetings are at the very least. It's just the week of, right? Because you might get some
Right.
screwy price action that, if you're on a deserted island like I like to be, even then it's good to know, to get the flare once in a while that there's a meeting.
Right.
Anyway,
Well, so you had this chart pulled up and you made a comment about like how it's not a bad idea for a short, or not a bad time for a short, or something like that. How do you see that in a dominance chart and Bitcoin
not
dominance?
not dominance. I'm talking, we were talking about, in a secret pre-show, we were talking about
Oh,
our cabal.
you're not supposed to tell
uh,
chat about that. Damn it.
the USD chart looks a little like long in the tooth. I don't know.
Mm.
It looks like it's one of those places where it gets me into trouble, because I'm like, oh, this is a rising wedge bear div, easy.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna
Yeah.
decline immediately. But it does make me not want to open a long, not want to go long, right? And a lot of people like to pile on, like, oh, this is bullish, blah blah blah. Sure, you go long, I'll stay out, or just wait, right? And
Right.
you tell me how that works out. Like maybe it works out for you. I don't know. I'm not a longer on rising wedges, but
Yeah. All
no, I like
right.
to start with dominance just because it gives you a sense of the market in general, right? Like, is it altcoin season? Is it Bitcoin season? Is it a year, 2 years of Bitcoin bottom in dominance by the looks of it?
Kind of
This
looks
is all
like it.
about like setting the table for how you want to be positioned,
Hmm.
the same thing with the rates. Like, how do you want to be positioned into the meeting? How do you want to be positioned if this goes back to 50s, 55, right? What is your read on dominance?
I'm with you. I think it's built a really nice bottom. I've had a really hard time reading it. It's just choppy.
Hmm.
In my mind, I draw a box around that price action at the bottom, and I'm waiting for
Yeah.
it to break out cleanly, like one way or another. And that's about as complicated as I get. I will add though, if you throw it on candles rather than line, every one of those, there's like a pixel or two new low at the lows, and four times previously, each new low was the point of rotation. That's when within that green box, that is when the rotation for the market took place. And now we here recently we didn't actually make here. I'm using my cursor. So this was a new low. That was a new low. Each time there was a new low, it rolled up, and even here was a new low. So I don't know what games the market was really playing, but here recently we spent longer than we've ever spent at the lows. We did not print a new low, and now we're breaking all kinds of low time frame downtrends. So yeah, this looks like a freight train in the making. Obviously, we haven't broken out, so who knows? But that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think it's just a general like sentiment check. Obviously there's stable coins and all sorts of stuff in this that wasn't as big as it used to be. So who knows where this can go? I'd love to see like an actual dominance, like
A
that you
trend.
could.
Yeah.
Well, no, that you could a dominance chart that you could like edit yourself, which you can create
Oh,
on TradingView. But
okay.
anyway, yeah, this looks like a lot of things. Adam and Eve at the bottom here, right? Maybe an invert head and shoulders, maybe some sort of maybe white coffee. And I don't know,
Yeah.
but it doesn't look bearish, right? That's the thing.
Mm-mm.
Like when you're looking at all these patterns for the new people, like all you have to figure out is like, is there a bias here? Is it clearly one thing or the other?
Right.
Is it clearly bullish? No, but it's not clearly bearish, and it does look like it wants the bottom. And it helps to look at stuff that you're not even trading. Just look at it. Another one that looks like this, honestly, is Link.
I have been watching Link as well. Yes,
Starting off
it's
strong
just in a big box at the
with
lows.
Link.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah,
that
it's
it's
exact
crazy.
same. It's
Yeah.
exact same rationale, nearly the same setup. Like I don't know, maybe this thing goes up, maybe it doesn't. I'm not really trading it, whatever. But it's worth watching if you're like learning to paper trade patterns or whatever, right? Another one that sort of looked like this, I think you were following, was LTC. Um, what's a good LTC chart? Maybe not so much anymore, but in here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
With
I
a
don't know,
breakout.
going with any of this, but pattern matching is big, obviously, with me as a chart pattern person. But
Hmm.
yeah, this looks good. And I like to check out RSI, what that looks like, volume, blah blah blah.
What's interesting too is that sell off where it came back into the box. I was convinced that was just going to turbo nuke to the lows, but lo and behold, it held. Right there, like right going into the end of 2022, start of 2023. And what I realized in hindsight, I didn't know it at the time, was that was a retest of the weekly 20 moving average, and it
Hmm.
it was a clean retest, and off it went. After that little tap.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do just looking at candles and levels without even like doing anything to the chart.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of people like with the classic like 50 things on your chart.
I
Like
know.
yeah, you don't
I
really
know.
need like all that stuff. I'm not even looking at cloud here, and I know this is bullish, obviously, but
No, I'm a purist as well. I love it. Give me a trend line and some candles, and we're good.
to the blinding white. If we're going down the list of like things I've been watching, stablecoin dominance is a good one. because it does generally tell you, like, is this risk off? Is this risk on? Are people fleeing to stables? You do kind of have to monitor stablecoin circulating supply, which pretty much has been flat this entire time.
Okay.
So we have been rising against stablecoins, which, that's a good thing. But we do want to see tangentially something else to pay attention to is, like, you want to see money coming into the market in general. You don't want it to be just money flowing between stables and non-stables. You definitely want to see some evidence for USD inflows somewhere or whatever, right?
Yeah. Well, and Josh,
Euro, Lira.
I want to pause you real quick just to make sure chat understands. So this is a chart. Going up and to the right means more money is sitting in stable coins, like it's in cash. Think of it as like, money in your bank account or whatever, rather than being deployed into a thing, into Bitcoin, into Ethereum, whatever. So if you can make a case that the trend is, say, reversing or potentially reversing, then what you're saying is, hey, it looks like people are taking cash out of their wallet and using that to buy the thing, to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, alt of choice, whatever. So that is a way to monitor kind of the water in the bathtub sloshing back and forth between, risk on and risk off.
Yeah, exactly. There's even a bit of, like, I see this often enough that I know it's a thing. I just don't know what it is. This, like, triple hump. I've seen people call, like, a bat wing or something. I don't know. You can even see Head and Shoulders here, Adam and Eve inverted here, diamond top. Like, there's plenty of random bullshit you can see.
Yeah.
Um, Again, none of it says continuation. All of these patterns are all reversal patterns in here collectively, everything. So that helps setting the table. Are we risk on? Are we risk off? Is there continuation in stablecoin dominance? No, there's strong reversal signs here. So it's good. That's what you want to see. Am I going to make a trade on that? No, but it helps, it's just looking around. What's going on, right?
Right. It's like a checklist of things that you'd like to see for like bullish sentiment or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And then going to ETH, which has been kind of a mystery because obviously we've had FTX in between proof of stake transition and now. And I'm not an ETH maxi, but if you expect ETH to do anything, it's got to be between now and the unlock, right? So for me, the clock is ticking on ETH just against Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I noticed that broke down here recently too, the Ethereum Bitcoin pair. Nothing like crazy, but it was, there was a trend that went back a few months and it broke down through it, which is just a very interesting thing to see happen.
Yeah, so that's my expectation is ETH BTC will do well eventually. My expectation is also that this will break 2K eventually on the USD chart. In the immediate, like, next day, I really don't want this Head and Shoulders to play out as it did eerily enough before FTX.
Right. And the one before.
Yeah, it's kind of like it really needs to gain momentum here to cancel that out. I think, yeah, what I don't like generally, this isn't necessarily a bear div across the board on ETH, but because there wasn't a third higher high. But momentum, a lot of the bulls will say it's resetting, the bears will say it's a div. It's not clearly bullish, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's worse on BTC. BTC, I think, is definitely a bear div here. Not alarming enough to close anything, but I'm not adding or opening anything up here when it looks like that. It just needs either sideways time or some pullback and testing some levels first.
Yeah.
But generally for ETH, I think this is most people's schematic. I don't think they're, like, expecting lower lows here,
No, I think you're right.
I've seen people, there's this macro Adam and Eve too. Perfectly viable, I think.
Sure.
And you measure this, pick something, right? And we're talking 22 to 26. I don't know. I don't have to think about it too hard, but that's probably going to be the level somewhere in there.
So if I could add from like a Wyckoff point of view, I can give just a couple thoughts on the
Hmm.
schematic. The first is look at your fractal that you have above it. From the lows to the breakout, there's very little hesitation, and that's
Yeah.
really common for all of Wyckoff breakout, like accumulation breakouts. So the fact that we're just kind of drifting is worrisome. Like that's even though
Yeah.
I am kind of macro bullish right now, that's objectively kind of a worrisome thing to see. The other thing is after the breakout, like so if you had the rest of how that played out up in the schematic above, you'll see that it was effectively a triangle to the right. Like it was just like yeah, chop for literally like 6 months or 8 months or something. I mean, it just it finally consolidated to an apex and then broke out. But so the way that I would encourage people to look at this is like, okay, I either place my bets now, or if we do get a big sweaty breakout, there's a really good chance we sit for months and just grind to the right, and maybe that's when I look to make my entry. You know, with knowing that okay, I have a pretty good read that we're out of accumulation and doing the next thing. But you give up like percentage of an entry or whatever. Like you trade risk for a higher price entry.
Yeah. Yeah. And this, this pattern has played out, this Adam and Eve down here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we're contending with this one here, which if it plays out, 1350 to 1450, somewhere there, that's where I'd be looking for entries or whatever on each spot. But I'd really rather see this break up personally, because again, it's kind of lagging a lot of stuff. It's certainly lagging Aptos, which is like 400% or whatever it is. But yeah, I don't know. That's my read on ETH anyway.
Okay.
We can look at it
It's a
on
good
the.
read.
Let me see what other
Holy shit.
charts I. Oh, here's. Well, we can bounce around, right? Well, let's go to ETH. Let's go back to ETH.
You're an animal.
Um, ETH on the cloud and ETH with all the MAs looks phenomenal. Trying to find the right MAs. 50, 200 cloud. This is the daily, yeah. 200 week. It's there, right? Like it's above everything,
So it's like, why are you drifting? You should be in full sync
right?
mode.
It
Yeah.
should be. It's above the 2018 all-time high. We can scroll all the way back, right?
Out of your
Like
pitchfork.
it has no reason to be bearish,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, so again, from a technical perspective, this is fine. It's fine that it's taking its time. I just don't see a reason why it would be bearish. Like, why? Do you have any reasons, devil's advocate, why we should be bearish ETH, other than the fact that it's ETH, right? I'm just
Yeah.
talking technicals here.
Right. Right. No. Well, I give you one reason, and this is not a great reason. I admit, but I hate the fact that it didn't run the lows or even retest the lows closely. It really, from a structure perspective, I rarely see these play out in a positive way. They can. Like, just like I sent you that Wyckoff accumulation schematic where it doesn't actually come down in spring. Like, that
Mm-hmm.
exists. It is a thing that happens. But it's like I've literally never seen it happen in crypto. So I'll just lead with that. And then in any other asset class, I very rarely, I've seen maybe three ever.
Yeah,
That's
that's fair. It maybe the market ran out of ETH. I don't know.
no more to sell.
Like that's what happened with BTC, almost certainly. There just wasn't any more actual BTC to sell. There's plenty of synthetic BTC to sell,
Yeah.
but
But again, that's not to say I'm bearish on it. I'm just that's just
yeah.
like a kind of a thing worth noting. Like, ah, that would have been nice to add to our, collection of bullish things, but we
So
don't
I'm
have enough.
glad that BTC is leading back to this like
Mm-hmm.
USD flows conversation. Typically, the quote unquote smart money is buying BTC. They aren't buying alts, including ETH. They're going to BTC first, typically. So if BTC is leading, that usually means we're seeing some sort of inflows. outside of, you know, stablecoin. And it's not just like people trading monkey JPEGs going long ETH, you know, like it's typically actual dollars. Is it speculative? Sure. I don't think it's like driven by utility or anything here, but
Right.
so from that perspective, I do like the rally. I just think ETH is unusually lagging here. Um, Here's like a third alternative. If we go back to, let me just go back to this one for ETH. This is another possible. If we go, where is it? Yeah, there it is. You know, this whole thing, a lot of like chart patterns and TA is just figuring out what's even possible,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, let's say this plays out as a head and shoulders because it looks like it's gonna. I hope it doesn't. Let's say it does. Um, then we get something down here, right? So
Macro.
at that point,
Yeah.
you could argue, well, maybe it's this, right? And
Yeah.
that gives me even more confidence that if it returns to 17, it looks good for more, right? Like I don't think it's all over. It ain't ogre if it does retrace. I think it's still fine.
Yeah.
Still achieves the same goal. It's just a matter of like positioning and timing. Because this doesn't look good. You know, maybe this is even a diamond top, right? If you know anything about ETH, like the fundamentals, the pumpamentals, the Ponzi-nomics could not be better based on
Oh,
the burn and like, you know,
so
I don't.
I'm glad you reminded me. Somebody when I first said like, "Hey, Josh is coming on the stream," and I announced it on Twitter, some of the first replies I got were like, "Oh, Josh is a ETH maxi now." Blah blah blah. So, would you like to explain why the some haters out there think you're an ETH maxi overall?
Yeah, I don't know because I'm definitely not. But I was talking about ETH a lot. Maybe that's why. Um,
Well, I mean, it
like,
leads the altcoin market, so it's like worth looking at.
yeah, I mean, you can't ignore it as much as I want to. You can't.
Yeah.
Um, this, I think this is one of the hardest charts in crypto to trade.
Holy crap.
You
Yeah,
know,
no, I agree. I agree all day. Yep.
it looks like it had something here. This is like Celsius 3AC, right? And now it's back in this range. But again, it does not
Yep.
look like it did at any of these points, right? It
Mm-mm.
does not look like that. No, it
Josh, I
doesn't.
flat given up. People will come into the stream and ask me to do TA on FBTC, and I say nope. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you because I like there's two or three individual patterns within that muck, like, kind of to the right of June 2021. Like I could find several things, but I have not found one kind of overarching thing that makes a lot of sense. I can't. I don't know. I got no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's strange that it's strange that it's held here and done nothing for so long. It's strange that post proof of stake transition it's been up here and done nothing. But maybe that's all just market recovery from FTX and all the nonsense of last year. Maybe in Q2 when this thing actually does something. You know, I don't know. It's I do expect this to break up. Unfortunately, I do. I expect it to break '08 and make a run for like some crazy point 0.1, point 0.2, point 0.12, something like that.
Even at this point in the cycle, or you think like 2025, like when things are going nuts
Yeah,
potentially?
no, I think its chance is this year
Mm,
because BTC having is
April?
what, April-ish, May, April. The ETH unlock, which isn't necessarily going to be mega turbo bearish, but you know, it's an unlock. It's probably going to be in September. You know, they're talking about March, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to push it back. So I think it's got like maybe like that. I don't know. Like if I had to bet my money on something.
Even though it broke down from that, the last few months.
Yeah, I mean this. I don't know. I don't really see. It's still within the 600-day range, so it's
That's
hard for
fair.
me to.
It's like the box we were talking about on dominance earlier. I mean, I'm with you. I understand.
Yeah, I
You
think it's not clearly super crazy bullish, but it's it's in the muck. I don't know. Like it doesn't scream bearishness for me, right? Like these did over here. Like this stuff is, very, to me, very clearly all sorts of bearish. There's
Yeah,
so many double tops, inverted cup and handle, blah blah blah, right?
right.
Um,
And that volatility, usually a lack of volatility, especially at the highs when things are breaking down, that's a sign of like somebody's in control of that price action. And the question is like to what end? And typically it's to go north more.
yeah, and it hasn't had any of these like crazy shooting star, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It hasn't had that. I don't know. Maybe it's just copium. I am long a little bit of ETH. Not that that really matters because I'm longer BTC, but
He's a
I'm just
maxi.
uh, like I'm just reading the chart, right? Like whatever. I don't know. No, that's ETH. I don't know. Is there anything else you see on ETH? Here's the other thing
The
with ETH.
pivot,
Like
what you have right there. Yeah, that's a
the
big go to
pivot to
me.
pivot trade is there as well.
It's a big
So
go to me.
again,
Yeah.
2K is huge. So maybe we do get some like consolidation here and then we go higher, but
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with
there's
you.
there's no TA I can see here on ETH other than this head and shoulders potentially in the next week that is bearish. Everything else looks totally fine, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
Strange.
it's a weird one, but as you said, it seems like Bitcoin's kind of leading the market, and as you have the cloud stuff pulled up for Ethereum, would this be a good time to pivot into Bitcoin and kind of show off what the cloud's looking like for it?
Yeah. One last thing for ETH with the
Sure.
alts, I like to go up and down on the daily. So this is the 2 day,
Mm.
3 day. So there's some like hopium levels up here, I guess.
Wow, that's so clean. I've never gone beyond a day.
This pattern, by the way, this
Wow.
whole thing down here is the inverse of that pattern on stablecoin dominance.
Huh.
So
Yes, it
it's
is.
definitely it's something, or in pareidolia, whatever. But anyway, this looks good for up. I think it's going to get there when the market actually takes off. I think Q2 it has a good chance to do that.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I guess we can talk about BTC now.
Sorry if you could stifle your vomit for a
Oh,
minute.
sorry, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. Yeah, no, we can talk about BTC. Actually, can we talk about the SPX first?
Yeah.
Just because I think that's another one of those things where people, like, even if you don't trade it, you need to know, like, generally, what does this look like, Um, and again, like ETH, like, how are you going to be bearish on this? Like, which technicals
I know.
is anybody looking at that's like, yeah, this is super bearish here, guys? Like, I get recession, I get earnings. That's fine. I'm just talking technicals. Like, what is bearish here? I don't even know. I don't even know where to start. People are saying like, "Oh, this can't be a head and shoulders or inverted head and shoulders." I don't give a fuck, right? Like, it looks like it wants to be. It's over this diagonal. It's over the yearly pivot. What else is there?
You hit the big ones. You've broken out of a downtrend. Even the cloud's flipping for the first time since 2022, or starting to. Where it's like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
day
no.
into
This
it.
is even crypto cloud. If you do it on the
Oh, traditional finance cloud.
not that I usually just leave it on crypto because I really don't care. But what is it? 18. This is if you're a true cloud believer, you know these numbers.
Jeez, dude, it's really impressive. You just know that.
um, yeah, it looks totally fine on traditional settings on the cloud. But yeah, like what is there to be bearish on? Maybe 4100. Like if it is above 4100 this week and closes a single day above 4100,
Send it.
are you still bearish? Like
Send
where
it. Yeah.
where are people? I don't know. I don't know. Like what else is there? There's a 5200 cross coming up. It's a chart pattern. There's the cloud. There's the diagonal. There's the pivot. I just don't know what else to say. So again, I don't want to be short crypto if this is bullish, right? And if this plays out, then maybe we see 4,500 S&P, which is insane. I know,
Insane, bro.
but maybe we see it. I don't know. Powell would be so angry. You know how angry Powell would be? He would get
Yeah.
you permabanned on Twitch. That's how angry he would be.
He'd raise rates another 10% and the market would still print a new all-time high. I mean,
Yeah.
how do you we may see interest rates at the 10% level.
Yeah, I mean that may piss them off enough to just keep raising, right?
Unbelievable.
Anyway, so this looks the most bullish to me that it's looked in over a year for sure, right? Like
Yeah.
the only other time previously, like it was here,
Mm-hmm.
couldn't get above the 200, was above the cloud, but fell back, right? This is what, the sixth time, if that, if
Mm-hmm.
not seventh, like it wants to go. So I don't know. I'm super bullish on that this week. There's going to be some crazy volatility around the FOMC meeting, regardless. But
Yeah, yeah, I think we're gonna find out. I think that's gonna be a big. What's the day that they meet?
I think
Wednesday.
it's
Chat. When is
Wednesday.
it?
It's the first, I think, right?
Chat be useful.
Yeah, so this looks good. I don't
Thursday.
know.
User Cumjar says Thursday. Thanks, man. Glad to hear it.
I'm just like looking for things to be bearish on.
My beef with the traditional market with the S&P or Dow or
Uh-huh.
whatever is the volatility during the quote lows. You think of like a Wyckoff chart, you have distribution, you have markdown, you have accumulation at the lows. Um, like where on that kind of chart could you point to be like, ah, yes, accumulation was here, where it's substantially different from distribution? Did we really just go from one to the other? Were they 10% apart? I mean, 20% apart? Where could real accumulation have taken place truly?
No,
That's
that's a
my
good
only
point.
beef.
I think some of that was, this is me just rationalizing, but I think some of that was the market digesting the speed of the hikes.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe.
Also, it's funny that this S&P did hit 50% retracement. This is log. You can't really see that, but
No,
it did hit the
yeah.
50% retrace from the COVID low to the high.
So I'll tell you something funny. We were monitoring the Dow Jones, which is very similar to the S&P in structure, and we, with the help of an old timer who is like a Wyckoff, with his whole life, that's all he's done.
Mm-hmm.
We came up with a target for the Dow Jones of 3,000, and I think it was like 4,000 for the S&P, and that was at the Pico top, and that's using point and figure charts with like a distribution schematic, and it smacked it. It actually smacked it twice. Both of those, the May to July bottom and then the September to November bottom, those fulfilled the distribution targets of the lows. So it's just interesting that now we're seeing things roll back over, even though, like you said, a lot of people are trying to claim that it's not bullish. I mean, now this is interesting. I haven't. How do you have this ribbon? This looks like it was calculated, not drawn. Am I
The
right?
guys at Davos, they send me all the best indicators.
That's cool.
This is, I'm gonna butcher his name. Capriel, maybe. It's called Power
Oh
Law.
yeah, I've talked with him on Twitter. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Power Law Corridor. Again, I like starting like, let's look at the solar system and see what's going on first
Sure,
before we look at
sure.
the township local stuff. Sure looks like we're closer to a bottom than a top to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's important to know too that this was created, I think, here sometime in 2018. So it's basically looking at I think it's a log regression, right, of the previous three all-time highs. So anything after 2018 is fair game for like predictive sort of foreseeing value.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so far so good. I don't know. Again, it's like a snap judgment, right? Like, is it bearish? Is it bullish? Does it look good enough to trade? Is it clear? I don't know. It looks fine to me. So I can't be bearish on the
No.
position.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
since the beginning of the year, I was tweeting out this cloud break, which
I
some
really
people
enjoyed that, by the way.
some people probably saw. I didn't think it was going to happen as quickly as it did. I
Right.
just I just knew we were setting up for this double bottom potential going into the beginning of the year. And I was like, okay, let's people kept telling me to talk about the cloud more, so that's what I did. And anyway, we're above it.
You only got what, like 9 or 10 tweets out, like 9 or 10 days in, and then it finally broke up.
Yeah, day 14, it was above.
That's funny.
So that's all it took.
Oh my god,
Um
look at that RSI. Close it out. Exit out of the RSI. Never mind.
people get spooked, right, when they see this, and rightfully so. Like, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
open some
no.
crazy long trade up here, but we've been up here plenty of times. Now this is like raging bull stuff where we have multiple impulses up here, but um it is a little bit bear divvy. Like I said, it doesn't look like it
Sure.
wants to keep going because momentum is coming down, volume is coming down. I would be very careful up here. That isn't to say it's not going to keep going, right? I just do think we're going to see some sort of potential retracement, right?
Yeah.
It's it's like, how would you trade this, right? That's how I like to think about it. Not like I'm bearish or I'm bullish or bearish. Sure, like anybody can be bullish or bearish. Like, what are you going to do? Like, what are your levels? Are you going to hedge at X level tomorrow? Are you going to stop out at X level? Just
Right.
things to think about for people. Are you going to sell partial at 27 or sorry, 27, 23.7? But you just have to be ready for that sort of thing when you think like there's some actionable opportunities here.
So
Um,
24K for me has long been on the chart because that was our pivot, January 1st. That was my. I don't know if your pivot settings are the same as mine. I have like Woody pivots on 15 yearly. That's how I.
Woody?
Yeah, I did a bunch of back testing and it was like really clean.
Okay.
But
Didn't
anyway,
even never even heard of that.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
You can go back and back test it, to the last bear markets and bull markets and stuff. It's really interesting. And in fact, if you have the pivot for last year, that redistribution we had kind of in April of 2022, that kissed the pivot as well. And then
This one here.
no, back one more. Back, like, keep going. There you go. Your cursor's almost on it.
Oh, here.
No. Well, that one
These
too.
two.
Yeah, those two. Right. The
I
second
gotcha.
one, the redistribution in March of 22. That was really interesting to me because it just kissed it and then dropped. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It would make sense to see a little bit of cooling off here. Not to say that everything's macro bearish or anything like that, but it would I wouldn't be surprised. At the same time, I did a whole segment 2 streams back about how when we broke north from the 3K bottom back in 2018, 2019, whatever it was. And if you were one of the RSI gamers and you tried to be like Mr. RSI guy, you got left behind the entire move. There was no world in which you played the RSI perfectly and did not miss like 20% moves back to back to back. It just didn't happen.
Yeah,
Just
a lot of people, including myself, are like focused on this like micro 3 drive that we're in now.
mm-hmm.
But this one was you know, this was 3 drives, and you saw it on our side too. So we are only in step 1 of that.
Right, right.
um so yeah, I mean, now this doesn't look as bullish as ETH. I'll say that. It's still in some stuff here. It is above the cloud. Um, what else was I going to put up here? I don't know. The 200
Oh, that's
week
interesting.
is at 24 as well.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know, man. Like, it's got some time. I think we're fine. 5200 cross is coming up. It's again,
Hmm.
is there anything on here that you can think of that looks bearish
No.
other than div plus pivot resistance?
The most I have is like places of caution, not really like bearish per se.
Yeah.
That's
Now
that 200 week is cool though. That's interesting.
I want people to be bearish because then that'll help us, you know.
Yeah.
Especially if you're bearish into the S&P, like some mega breakout, like the S&P could just drag us regardless, you know. I think if the S&P actually moves above 4100. Yeah, the 200 weeks cool because historically, like, it was the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
you know, right? This is actually the deepest I think we've ever gotten below the
Yeah.
200 week. So it's good that we're getting back to that. Another
So
one I like is the 2 year. Go ahead.
I was going to say, on that point that the falling wedge there at the bottom, that was something we were really paying attention to. That was something that I had my eyes on. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I guess it depends. For me, like wedges typically break up or down to the point of the triangle,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So I think we're there at this point
Yeah.
as well. And if you want to add that to the list of like,
Caution or whatever.
yeah, I don't know how, depends how you want to draw that, but you know, we're
It on linear, it looks really clean. On log, it's all messy.
okay. Yeah, I don't do too much linear myself.
Yeah.
Um, Another high time frame I talk about a lot is the 2 year MA multiplier.
Oh, that's cool.
And we are deep, deep in the value zone, my friend.
Yeah.
We are swimming in value.
Okay, so using this chart, do you care to make any predictions on the next bull market top? You
Of
see, I mean,
course. How can you not?
what do you think it'll be like softer than say the ones before? There was like blow off tops and then not. Like what do you think happens this next bull market peak?
If you fasten your tinfoil, you can say the rehypothecators prevented us from, they stole a blow off top from us,
I like it.
right? You know, you can say Bitcoin was overvalued. I don't care. That's fine. But on technicals, this should have had, you know, you could argue a lot of things, I guess, but on technicals, this should have had a blow off top. It didn't. There was too much other shit going on, too many other NFT whatever's to trade, I guess. But yeah, here it's deep value. Here's like DCA territory, right?
Yeah.
Now we don't have like fit 500 years of data, but historically, when it's been in the green, that's your DCA territory. Next bull market. Depends how slow. Sorry, I'm trying to find. Do I not have having? Let me just find the feel like an old man.
The lines and stuff. Yeah, there you
Whatever
go.
this level is up here, right? You know, this
What
is
is that?
it's 191 right
Okay.
now, but much like 2017, you know, we had this like inflection point
Mm-hmm.
where eventually we did turn back up again, and it took a long time to get there, right? So I'd like to think at a bare minimum 191. You know, that
But
sounds great to me.
But as we head north, that would probably turn north as well, and maybe go say another 50% or so higher, getting us to that 333K by next bull market top, right? That's what you're trying to say?
333K by July 2025. Um, yeah, I don't even know how to like measure this in a comparable way. Realistically, I just know I like 200K next cycle. We'll see what it looks like if and when we get there, but um, those are the levels I like.
By the
If I
way,
want,
when you adjust to woody pivots,
mhm.
there's the pivot and then there's the R1 and R2 and all that. R1 is at 33K. And so people in the chat,
Nice.
when we first pulled that up, they're like, "Oh, Josh is gonna love this."
Yeah, 30 to 35 is a really good like full retrace area from, you know, we were at 30 to 60 for so long, you know, and then we broke down. So it'll be interesting to see what it looks like at 30 to 35. Do we shooting star into that, or do we like consolidate there again? It really depends on what it looks like. But
Yeah.
overall, this looks pretty good trend wise. I'm not even talking about on chain stuff. Like, I don't know if you want to talk about on
Yeah.
chain.
Let's do it. Because I never talk about that stuff. So chat is probably dying for something like that. I never
Well,
monitor it.
I always like to bring up like free that way anybody can look at this stuff.
Sure.
This is lookintobitcoin.com. Not that they pay me or anything, but um, another good one to monitor, not stock to flow.
Stock to flow. You heard it here first, chat.
Um,
Just kidding.
the time to halving, right?
I
Everybody
do
sort of
like that chart. I really like that. Yeah.
everybody knows roughly when it is, but again, like historically, where are we in the cycle? Is now the time to be bearish?
Yeah. Right. Right.
I
Right.
don't know. Right? You tell me, right? Like, I don't have anybody tell anybody what you think, right? Just look at the data. What does it say? Like, historically,
Yeah.
this has not been a time to be bearish historically.
Chat says my eyes.
Yeah, I know. I wish these places had dark mode. This is another one, just like a meme. This is like the
mm-hmm.
log regression, right? Again, closer to a bottom or a top
Eric
historically.
Wall, right? Didn't he do this?
Yeah, this is the Eric Wall, not a chart.
Uh-huh.
Whatever, dude. Like, I don't care, right? People
Whatever.
look
It's a
at it.
good chart. Yeah, it's just a visualization. It's useful.
Yeah.
MRVZ, yep. Yep.
MR
Or how do you say it?
MVRV,
MVRV, yeah.
whatever it is. I always screw up the let's just give it the old refresh, huh?
I don't know how to manipulate these charts either. So
But again, like bottom or top, you tell me. MVRV is looking at market cap versus realized cap, which is the value of all the coins that have moved at their price. So it's basically looking at unrealized profits and realized profits. That's how I look at it. So when this peaks, that says there's a lot of unrealized profits in the market, because it says people haven't moved coins recently, right?
yeah.
Because market cap is way above realized. But when we're at realized versus market cap, that says that we've sort of reset everything historically. And we've kind of stayed here a good amount of time historically. Again, like timing matches, the way it looks matches. I don't know. I think all the on-chain stuff generally tells you the same thing, which is why I don't look at it too much. But there's a lot of ways you can manipulate MVRV to make it kind of look the same.
Hodl waves is a good
And
one. You ever look at that
yeah,
one?
that's a good one.
Well,
Hodl waves
multiple.
is super
There's a lot of good
subjective,
ones.
but it's good.
Chat, y'all bookmark this website. Look into bitcoin.com. There's a lot of good stuff on here.
um, Again, this sort of gives you like sentiment analysis of like, are people just coming into the market moving coins, or are older players moving coins, or are people holding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people are definitely holding into this still. Now, if like the facetious coins, we always seem to talk about these. If we start to see coin on locks effectively, right?
Yeah.
Then there's some sort of sentiment shift where the holders become sellers. That's what happens at these macro all-time high peaks. So it's something to look for. Obviously months from now if we do get another high, but yeah, just I don't know, something else to watch, because eventually the selling overtakes the buying, obviously, and then that's how we get tops. And you can see that in this behavior on chain.
Days destroyed is kind of a cool one to monitor that. Like if
Yeah. The other thing about on-chain data is it isn't as vanilla as it used to be. It isn't, because of lightning, because of ETH with the layer 2 stuff.
bridges and this and that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The bridges, the wrapped coins, like it's not exactly, you're not looking at grandpappy's on-chain data anymore. Coinbase destroyed generally has a rising trend. I think everybody can probably see that. But I don't know. Like, what does this really tell me? Not much of anything. There's a lot of coins being days destroyed, coins being moved at macro tops, right?
That's kind of the only thing I use it for, like the
Yeah.
end. I don't even use it at the lows for anything.
Yeah.
But somebody in chat it had a good question, and it's something I kind of asking myself as well. So Glassnode's like banned me, not banned me, but we had a relationship with them, and then suddenly they said we're not working with anybody. So I don't have access to the same on-chain data that I used to as of like 2 weeks ago. But up until that point, we were watching whale wallets constantly, wallets with 100 Bitcoin, 1,000 Bitcoin, 10 Bitcoin plus. And for each of the bear market bottoms prior, those larger wallets would show very clear growth to the upside. Like as we were bottoming, they started to moon to the upside. This happened time and time again. However, this time we're not seeing that. Do you have any thoughts on that or any input on that?
No, but that is similar to the initial thought process of like inflows of USD. Like, is anybody accumulating, or is it just like stablecoin sloshing around?
Right.
So either you want to see stuff like you're mentioning on chain accumulation, or you want to see stablecoin circulating supplies rising, or you want to see like Coinbase leading Bitfinex or something, right? Like something that is somewhat clear that there's inflows somewhere. I think stablecoin dominance will help you see like risk on, risk off generally, especially like within the trend of where stablecoin dominance is headed.
Right.
But from like a flows perspective, yeah, I think you're right. Looking at stuff like this, the 100 coin wallets did perk up a little bit.
They did. They sat
Yeah,
up in their chair there.
the whole coiner wallets reached 1 million or thereabout. I think we'll check that in a second. These greater than 10 BTC that went up, right?
Yeah, that's pretty good. And maybe that's
That's
this generation's whales.
yeah. I mean, 10 BTC here is
What is that, quarter mil?
not bad.
That's not bad. It's a house.
It's true.
Look, we
Uh,
can't all have 50,000 Bitcoin, Josh. Come on.
yeah, yeah, right. I was early. I wasn't 50,000 BTC early. Um, yeah. So whole coiner BTC address is almost at 1 million, and these have gone straight up, right?
Yeah.
Again, this sort of tells you like sentiment, behavior analysis. Are people stacking sats? Are they selling? People keep buying by the looks of it, right? So if I'm looking for things to be bearish about, not really seeing it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm with you.
I think this vanilla transactions and active addresses is rough to even like look at because most of this is probably mining activity. A lot of it is probably on Lightning now. There's a whole litany of caveats that you have to apply to this stuff now because it's
Right.
not clear cut.
With
Um, anyway, I don't know. Is there anything else? I don't really think
Puel,
NVT.
I haven't looked at
Oh
Puel
yeah,
in a long
12
time.
is a good one. 12 is a good one.
I've liked that one.
Uh, trying to see if people can see it above your head.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
there we go. Yeah, Puel, much like MVRV, right? Like it basically telling you the same thing. Miners are stressed. They're not stressed anymore. Up only.
Okay, I think it's worth pausing to reflect on anything related to mining because think of how this bear market went down. The price of Bitcoin dropped like a stone. Fell below all sorts of moving average, like the 200 week, 200 week moving average, right? The price of electricity shot up because of all these like crazy macro events, and hash rate didn't drop like it we've seen in prior bear markets. It actually exploded and continued to make new all-time highs. So I am astounded at any large miner, especially that was able to negotiate all like those that environment shifting under their feet consistently like that and maintain whatever dominance they had. That's crazy to me. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, miners went through a whole hell of a lot. It was they were making more money profitability wise in the 2021 run up that they've ever made. Capital flooded in, and then they basically got rug pulled after that. And profitability in 2022, I think, is probably close to all-time lows, right? Because of issuance, because of fees, because of competition, because of electricity. I mean, miners are short electricity. They're short the hash rate. They're short difficulty. They're long BTC. That combination in 2022 was brutal.
Unreal.
Absolutely brutal. I'm just looking at I have the God mode, Glassnode God mode.
Oh, you bastard. I'm so
It,
jealous.
I was looking at, so this is miners net position
Okay.
change.
That's
And
interesting.
again, like, how do you want to massage this? Do you want to look at it on a weekly? Do you want to look at it like a monthly? Like,
Okay.
you can get it to say sort of anything, but we aren't seeing miners selling like they were basically at the bottom. We're really not seeing that.
Could you expand that perspective to include last bear market too? So like 2018 ish.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I would like to, yeah, kind of come connect the two cycles. Okay.
Yeah. So this bottom
Interesting. Yeah.
was the crescendo of selling as well,
Hmm.
which makes sense based on just simple supply demand, right?
Yeah.
People get pressured, they don't want to sell, they have to capitulate right when the price goes down. And at a first glance, you may think, "Oh, this is the selling that actually brought us down." It's not. It. Some of the selling did start to tip the apple cart up here, but a lot of the selling was at the very bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. They
Um,
were forced out of business essentially.
yeah, this is the monthly average, so maybe again, depending on how you want to massage this, but the bottom was very likely due to minor capitulation, which is one reason why a lot of people pay attention to how healthy are the miners, what are they doing, right? What are their flows? Are they buying, selling, hash rate, blah, blah, blah. Just one other thing to pay attention to. I don't think anybody needs to be an expert into that sort of thing, but it helps, right?
Right. I'll tell you a
This,
funny little
go
side
ahead.
note about right where your mouse was about that January 2021
Mhm.
sell off. I met a guy at the Litecoin conference, and I asked what he did, or just making conversation. He said, "Oh, I was a Bitcoin miner," and I said, "Oh, well, are you still? And how are you handling all that?" Just the same conversation we just had. And he goes, "No, I sold it all. There was a point in the run up where I thought that was going to be it, and so we sold." And I said, "Was it north of 40, like towards 60?" He said, "Yeah." He's like, "That's exactly where it was." I said, "Dude, all the on-chain stuff, the Wyckoff distribution, like everything was saying somebody is selling right here." And he laughed and he goes, "Dude, we had a lot of coin." He goes, "We offloaded every bit of it north of 45." I said, "Wow, okay, that's interesting." And I see stuff like this and I think of him. And I'm like, man, I wonder if he was as big as he was kind of letting on or what. But he was very proud. He goes, "We got out and we're not going back. We're done." So they completely exited.
Yeah, not that miners need my advice or anybody, but smartly, you should be selling into strength, right? Like that's in a perfect world, that's what you're always doing. And that's very clearly what happened here.
Yeah.
Price went down, but not by much. It absorbed most of this, and then it kept going. The rest is history. But
Right.
what you don't want to see price wise is forced selling at the bottom, right? That is
Yeah.
the literal
Yeah.
worst time. Um, all this Bitcoin sold at what could be the bottom for this cycle. Not a great look, that's for sure.
Hmm.
But everything else, everything looks fine. I I looked at the weekly and the monthly data like this week, and this is one of the strongest months we've had ever since 2014. It's almost 45% now, which is even above what I was looking at, but
Unreal.
there aren't many months that look like this. Here's another if I can find it. It's on CoinGlass, which is a great free site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They have those monthly. Hold on, let me find it. Sorry.
Girthy.
Yeah, this one.
Oh, sheesh.
That's daily. We want monthly, right? So historically, months above 40, not many, right? We're at 43. You just do a quick scan prior to 20 or after 2014. Not too many that
Yeah.
weren't like super, super bullish
Especially
for a
in
long time.
pre-halving years.
Yeah. It's no, this is aligning to kind of a weird time to be this crazy bullish. So, this is for the people who are like, oh, it's up 40%. I missed everything. It's over. I don't know. Like, this might have some room yet eventually, like within the next quarter, right?
Right.
But it looks good. I don't know. Like, I'm looking for things to be bearish on. I don't see too much.
So what's the plan? With respect of this, the monthly returns and all that. You going to do the sell in May and walk away and that kind of deal, or like kind of what's your expectations going forward for the year?
Well, are we gonna hit 33K by July or what?
Chat, we've got them to say 333K by 2025 and 33K by July. There you go. You're welcome. Take your shots. Anybody who had
The
the bingo card.
Again, if I'm just like looking for levels, just cruising the cloud up and down,
Mm-hmm.
32, that's like a multi-month target. That's not a soon target, which is basically the horizontal resistance. If we can close the year anywhere above 30, I think that's a massive win. And then into halving, like I think we're positioned quite well into halving from there. But
So
I don't want to see lows, obviously.
no, I mean I'm with you. A question on this chart though. So right above my face, there is a fast and slow moving average. Chat. It's the red and blue, and they're just on the cusp of crossing potentially. Can
Mm-hmm.
you go back in history and see going like from below a red cloud going into it? What typically happens in a when those two moving averages are about to cross, like maybe what happened in 2019 or 2018, when that event happened. Like, could historically speaking, do you get a kind of a cool off, a breather, right as those two things are crossing? Retest from above a strength, or does it just moonshot? Like, what typically happens?
What I will say, just from a cloud knowledge perspective, you don't want to be short when the fast crosses over the slow moving average. You don't want to be short, but that's most systems. If we go to like 2018,
Yeah, there you go. That's the
similar.
juice.
2015, a little bit messier, but similar. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, this is it's the 6 day cloud technically, like it's because it's doubled, right? So
Right.
the weekly is technically the 2 week, but we are getting a nice, we start to flatten out on the key June on the weekly. That's the level. Right now it's at 33.8.
Woo!
It may keep coming down. I don't know, but it's good that we broke the Tenkin. This is basically the daily cloud. The weekly Tenkin is basically the daily cloud. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm looking for things to be bearish on. The only thing is this low time frame. Um, you know, div wedge, if you want to call it that. We're trying to peek out of this macro pitchfork too.
Mhm.
But I am nervous that you know, this thing,
Bear div.
you don't really want to see, I don't expect strength here until stonks open and maybe S&P goes for 4100.
Right.
But yeah, everything looks good. I don't know.
I'm gonna share my screen really quick because it's just related to what you're showing. And
BTFD,
basically,
TLDW, BTFD, not investment advice, NIFT, right? Or not. financial NFA.
NFA, NFA, NFA. So, chat, this is, he just showed something kind of interesting on this time frame, and I tweeted out before the stream this. Oops. So basically that. I think this is a setup that I'm watching for. I'm not. It's not like I'm excited for this or shorting it or whatever. I just think it's worth noting when, like say the 1 hour to 4 hour charts are potentially showing exhaustion, and right now we have a really nice kind of distribution-ish look to things. Now this could moonshot and break north of 24. We're right at the yearly pivot. This upthrust after distribution could be potentially playing out right at the pivot. So there's a lot of reasons for me to be like, okay, this could just be, the start of a pullback, a breather, catch your breath, and then things keep going, whatever. I think macro, it's still very bullish, but I am watching this closely. What I'd love to see is this just to get completely invalidated, moonshot to say 25, consolidate above 25, and keep going. Something like that would be like really nice. All right, back to you, Josh. Back to you.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. Those are the things to watch this week, 100%. How does this rising wedge bull bear div play out? How does ETH play out? How does the S&P dance around 4,100? What happens with the Fed meeting? DXY we haven't really touched on, but I'm super bearish DXY. Maybe the only person on the planet.
Oh my gosh. I thought it would consolidate at least some, and I've said that the whole time, and it just every level it cuts through it like a knife through butter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to go straight down forever. I'm fine with, not going up is a win for Bitcoin. Anything denominated in USD, not seeing USD strength is completely fine. So this can stay here for the next 6 months. I don't care, but you definitely don't want to see the strength that it had in 2022. From a technical perspective, it's flirting with a bearish Kumo breakout on the weekly, which historically, we're talking a trip to 90 maybe. That's super bearish, but
Man.
it's what I'm watching and looking at. And you talk about halving, you talk about how this has looked in previous halvings, right? I think I have, yeah, here we go. Really helped us previous halvings, 2017, 2021, 2020, right? And if it's bearish into the next halving, I think we will all be very happy.
Do you think it finds any support on that green cloud right there, kind of like rolling upwards?
It's 102. This one?
Mm-hmm. Just
Oh,
looking back at,
here. Okay,
yeah,
okay, I
just
got
kind of
you.
like right where it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I think at this point though, like it didn't bounce. Just like basic cloudonomics 101. You want to see trend continuation at the Kijun. So when it breaks the key, this slow moving average, the red line, when
Mm-hmm.
it breaks that, all hope is pretty much lost that it's a continuation, right?
Yeah.
Um, and this applies to BTC on the daily too. Like we can look at where that is on the BTC daily, and it's pretty low because we've went up pretty quick, right? It's at
Yeah.
20, so we could go to 20, and the cloud would be fine with that. And this level is going to move up slowly over time, but that's just, again, this is a way of saying like we are overbought here. I don't need RSI to tell me that,
Right.
based on where it sits relative to the Kijun.
Interesting stuff. So 100x short Bitcoin.
Sorry,
Got it. Good
keep
comps.
forgetting your head is there.
Good comps.
100 extra. No, but I can see people who with risk appetite would totally be down for that. One way to be super aggro on these setups. Sorry, I'm bouncing around. Um, you either open a short with a stop loss at new highs, or you open a short with a stop loss at some appropriate
Yeah.
psychological level, like 24,001 or something, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or you just start adding into a short as we break certain horizontals. Um, but if you want to be hyper aggro with it, I think there's a place for that. Some people do that well. But this has been surprising to the upside for many days. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to be on the other side of that freight train.
Oh, one other thing I noticed on on that screen on log, you can actually draw a pretty decent channel, starting with that first impulse, running through the second impulse, and then making the channel lows, run along the lows as well. I can show you on my screen if you want. Might be easier.
No, I have too many things drawn.
So on like the say the 1 hour or 4 hour, yeah, either one, it's fine. You could just draw like a up, like go through the highs. There you go. Yep, perfect. And then through the lows. Boom, done. Now you have a little channel. You can kind
Yeah.
of keep your eye on low time frame.
Yeah, that's totally fine. There's probably some MAs that are catching up there as well.
What?
So high time frame, things look fine.
Yeah.
Things look potentially like 2019, like you said, where we just kind of had a moment. Uh, and we could even retrace significantly and still have that moment. Um, it's just near term, I'm just a little concerned.
Yeah.
And when I see stuff like this, by the way, I get a
No,
little
no, no. It's
worried.
fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
I get a little worried. Now, this is a true, I don't have RSI on here. Let me edit it. This has to be like crazy overbought. I mean, I guess
Do you like daily?
it's clearly lower highs on RSI. So I don't know.
As it goes up 300%. It's not even like 3% moves or something. That's insane.
It's crazy that it's just holding up here still.
What? So okay, because I don't know. So you're educating me. What is the story behind Aptos? Like, what's going on here?
I have no idea.
Okay, good. Yeah.
It's the flavor of the month. The next best thing is going to be amazing. It didn't pump last cycle.
Yep.
I have
Okay.
no idea. Honestly, I have no idea. Now, what could be happening is VCs who bought the pre-mine or whatever are like hedging, and as they're hedging, they're getting blown out and have to add collateral or add, whatever. That's one possibility.
Okay.
Um, I don't know how likely that is, but
This
honestly, I
just
have no clue.
this looks like Soul. That like I get Soul vibes
Well,
looking at
that's
this.
that's the other problem, if you want to call it that. It's like self-fulfilling prophecy that, oh, this is going to happen, just like Soluna AVAX, right? Where it went up X billion dollars
That
very, very quickly, right?
that run. So a different chart would show you differently, but the low, the like when this actually started was $1 because you remember that Twitter beef of like sell me all the Soul you want under $3 or whatever that saying was. So I like putting tweets up every now and then. I'm like, um, $15 Soul is still 15x the lows or something like that. Because it's still
Yeah.
like a crazy return. Like people, it's not like it's dropped. It did not round trip. It's nowhere even close to a round trip. Even $9 was nowhere close to a round trip.
No, not yet. Um, these charts though also have that same.
Yeah,
This
rising
one
wedgie thing.
again, not as clear though, so I don't know. When it gets ambiguous, I'm like, okay, like this could be an ascending triangle, right?
Mm-hmm.
People can fight me in the comments, but maybe so. And if you want to measure that out, conservatively 31, not so conservatively 34-ish, basically back up here.
I mean, yeah, you basically retrace the whole dump.
Yeah, so if I'm not selling anything down here, I'm just generally a sentiment check. People are probably selling something at 30 plus, I'd assume. But what do I know?
I know if I was long and strong at like $8, You better believe I'm taking profit at 25. Just saying. If I was a trader, now you could believe it's the next best thing and whatever, whatever. But as
Yeah,
far as yeah, swing trades go, that's I'm out.
you're seeing that again. Even if you don't trade this stuff, it's important to just like, oh, this is sellers and buyers basically coming to an equilibrium until buyers take over again and again and again, right?
Yeah.
And like, are there going to be more buyers at 30? Maybe, I don't know. But here's buyers and sellers coming to an equilibrium again, right? Price is just flat. Nothing's really
Right.
happening. What else looks good right now? I don't know.
What about Litecoin? Like I know we looked at it just very briefly, but do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah. Liddy coin.
Liddy,
Um,
Charlie Coin.
what is a good Coinbase, I guess?
They're okay. They've been around. Yeah.
Let's look at Monero too after this because I haven't looked at that in a
Yeah.
while.
It's been moonshotting.
I mean, it looks fine. The question is like, do you diversify and buy some Litecoin with your Bitcoin, with your ETH, and with your other junk, or do you like hope that there's some rotation trade, or are you all in Litecoin? I don't know. Like
Yeah.
to me, the big horizontal levels like up there.
That lines up with the macro diagonal from 2021 and 2022. Each of those peaks, those like impulsy peaks, if you drew a down to the right trend line, it would probably line up right with that line you put in just above price action. You know,
That one,
ballparkish. Yeah. Say by April up to that level you drew,
sure.
and then
But it
whatever.
looks fine. It doesn't look bearish, you know. But am I gonna like trade this in size because I think it's
Yeah.
a coin? No, not really.
Right.
But it looks fine.
It's okay. It's okay.
What about obviously if you care more about your BTC stack, you're watching these on the BTC pair too, probably. But XMR looks fine. Like what bear market?
I know.
The
Isn't
problem
that
with
nuts?
Monero is you can't trade it too many places. Like
How does
Kraken,
Kraken get away with it?
uh, I don't know. I think clock is ticking on that one.
Well, I mean, it's been there forever. Been there for like 5 years.
Yeah, they're the only brave soul in the U.S. to trade it.
Jesse's just like angry. Just leave it on. That's like his way. He's kind of. I heard him on some spaces. He was a little bit salty at the way things work in the U.S. and then how the U.S. regulators handle the like overseas guys. You know, basically talking about finance without actually saying them. They get away with everything. What are your candlesticks doing here? Why do they look like they're smudged?
Oh, because they are. They're
Or they was just
squished.
zoomed. It was just zoomed in. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I see.
zoomed out. It was zoomed out.
Zoomed out. Sorry.
Maddox another one that's like what bear market, you know? Like it's looks back to the levels it was in April 2020, April 2022,
Yeah.
you know?
Maddox.
Almost.
Maddox, another one where I just don't have a good read for the last call it 10 months, 8 months. All that volatility, down, up, down, up. I don't know. Moving averages maybe would give you kind of an edge. See where you are, see where support is, that kind of thing. But I don't have a great, just a good feel for it. I just don't.
I mean, this thing looks
What do you do with that?
good as well. I don't see it looks like the the BTC chart. It's just like random walk, but it's at we can reverse this or inverse this, right? Kind of looks like dominance, BTC dominance.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's such trash. Just like trying to, I'm just imagining going through each of those impulses and being like, oh, yeah, I know exactly what's happening next. There's no shot. Maybe the
No,
head and shoulders kind of on the far left there ish. That's it.
but yeah, those are tough. I think the BNB chart is also tough against BTC.
Mm-hmm. The Binance coin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What about, are you going to talk about your NFT project you're starting?
No, actually, that was a secret.
Ah, my bad. Sorry.
This is tough too. Like, how do you trade this? I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. I mean, it looks like an inverted Adam and Eve up here, sure, but
I played the breakout like um I don't know, June 22 finally. Yeah, exactly. That breakout that got my attention. Played that, and then all that volatility at the Pico top was with FTX. Like that's it was like when he being CZ when he sold all the FTT, and at the same time somehow BNB moonshot, and then it just kind of bled out. But what's interesting is that oftentimes BNB on the Bitcoin pair topping has been a macro Bitcoin market bottom. Like those two things have lined up really nicely. So
interesting.
perhaps that's another checkbox of, the Bitcoin bear market is behind us kind of thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that makes sense. That makes sense. You know, another thing tangentially as well, like the DXY chart, arguably, we have not seen bullishness to match the bearishness of the DXY on the crypto side of things, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Um, a lot of this was happening during FTX, so that sort of negated it. So if anything, crypto isn't catching up to do relative to the DXY. If you're a DXY enjoyer,
Yeah, you're right. Like Chad, what he's saying is DXY when it goes up, typically Bitcoin goes down. There's like this inverse relationship. So if the Dixie has retraced roughly half of its uptrend, Bitcoin hasn't retraced half of its downtrend from 70K. Those two things didn't happen simultaneously. So what else is the Dixie going to have to do to get Bitcoin to moonshot? That's basically what he's saying.
exactly.
You're right. It's going to be interesting.
Got some catching up to do.
Sure does.
I don't know. You got anything else you want to look at?
I mean, dude, I could do this all day, but you're the guest. You've been here an hour and a half. What do you want to do? You want to call it there?
I'm just looking at. This is what I do on my spare time. So.
Me too. Um. Okay. I'm gonna pull my my thing up.
Yeah, you show me some charts.
I'm gonna show you some charts. Buckle up.
Okay.
All right, here we
go. Good thing I'm sitting down.
You may want to get yourself a drink. All right, so this is the point of interest for me right now is this with that. Oops. So to me, this is what I care about not happening. I don't want this to happen, but I don't want to get caught on the wrong side of this if it does. Mm-hmm. So that is of interest to me. Zooming out though, if we do like let's see the daily, and again, if I turn it to linear, this is kind of my macro perspective right now. That's what I'm looking at. So we had this little, all these little Jabati breakouts, and then finally the real deal. So right about in here is where I started taking this serious. And from there, we had the pivots give us our first target and our second target. So this is something I have been keeping my eye on. But just so you know, because I know you enjoy this kind of stuff, like even if you go back to the prior, like this bullish breakout, whatever, the bear market bottom breakout, we broke above the pivot, consolidated right at the R1, and then came back down and found support on the pivot again. Now, ultimately, it all got like cut through with COVID. But the argument that many have is, erase COVID, and this would have been like a really nice floor for whatever the next move is, barring any kind of black swans. Let's see. Oh, and then that one runs out of room.
I can read chat. I can't type because I'm not logged in, but I can read chat.
He's reading
for those asking me.
All your mean comments. Also, the S1.
I didn't see any mean comments.
Your
mods are doing a great job.
I've seen them have to slap a few people. They've done great. The S1, the extension of the S1 acted as the, so sometimes bear markets bottom as a ascending triangle, and which is what I'd argue, occurred in here. And roughly that was the extension of the S1. And I think that's really cool how that played out. So once that level broke, it was like, off we go. So kind of putting all these ideas together. Oh, and even back here, the Wyckovian breakout smacked the pivot, found support on the following year's pivot, and then off it goes. I love that kind of thing. So if we kind of bring all these ideas together, I think it'd be super interesting to see. Hopefully we break above the pivot. Excuse me as I cough in your ear. Break above the pivot, maybe rally, cool off on the R1 into the end of the year, leading into, the halving year, having support on the pivot, and then off we go. Something like that. I don't know what that would look like, but I think that would be kind of a cool situation if it finally like kind of bled out down into December and then off we go. But maybe this level, we talked about 30,000, 33K by July and all that kind of stuff. I think that'd be cool if it was around the sell in May, walk away in May, June, maybe May to June, somewhere where we top out and then we find support November, December at the end of the year. That makes sense to me. I think that would be cool from a TA perspective, strictly.
And I could sell my merch at 33K by July.
Dude, you'd be so famous. You could start conferences called the 33K by July conference. Sell t-shirts and hats, the whole thing.
Coffee mugs.
Dude, I'd buy one. I'd sit it right here. If you make one, let me know. I'm gonna buy it.
I've thought about merch for years and then I just get exhausted. Yeah, all that makes sense. I love the pivot to pivot trades for sure.
That's so cool to me. Here's something else that I was showing chat. There's two things about MicroStrategies that have caught my attention. Sorry, I don't know. I have a frog in my throat all of a sudden. But the first is, let's get rid of these. The first is how we have come down, we being the MicroStrategy folks, whatever. I don't know why I said we, but it came down, ran the lows, and then off we go. I love when the market gives you a couple low levels and then runs them all and starts breaking up. So that is very interesting to me to start with. But the second thing is that's all. This is about a year of like, this could be true blue Wyckovian accumulation. Like there's a really nice chance that this is in its kind of final preparation for, it needs to break out. Obviously we need some confirmation and all this, but after an all-time high of 1,300 to come down here at like $150, yeah, was that 90% ish? Come down, spend a year. So I think this is a really strong candidate for true blue accumulation with us having rallied. Now I would have loved more of a spring, like more selling pressure before a rally. But the other thing I thought was cool is that there's this Eiffel Tower chart pattern that I'll pull out every now and then, and it shows.
Love the Eiffel Tower. I mean, the Dixie could Eiffel Tower too, right? The Dixie's
absolutely it could, right? Nothing's stopping it, so why not? But what I like is near the end of it, there's this sort of channel accumulation, and then ultimately breaks out. But what I argue this does not show, but what eventually tends to play out is true blue accumulation with the, maybe run the lows, break up, consolidate, and, keep going kind of deal. So if you can envision that being the natural next step for this, I think that would be pretty cool to see. So yeah, go MicroStrategies. Well done. This is a good looking chart. I just found that the other day.
I know a lot of legacy, it seems as though a lot of legacy players trade that as a BTC proxy,
Agreed. Yeah.
So if BTC does well, you'd have to assume all the, even GBTC, right?
Yeah. I mean, and look at this Adam and Eve, and shout out to Bitcoin Schmitcoin. He messaged me about that. And so as soon as he shared that with me, I shared it here, but that's really cool. I missed that. I mean, I was watching the downward slope and the breakout and all this, but I hadn't really considered it in the context of an Adam and Eve bottom. And yeah, so we have a pivot up here at 15, which is where some of my entries were. I have money in the traditional market, and that's where it stays. Like, it doesn't come out. and I made several entries on like during this right here, and so, and then left them. It was like a 4-year entry or whatever. And here, I found myself 50% underwater after waiting this whole thing down. I was thought I was doing so well, so I'll be happy to see it get back to the pivot. But that'll be interesting to see. Kind of my overarching, like what I wonder what's going to happen across all these things. Are we really going to send it? Is everything really that bullish? Are we really just going to, never look back again, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, or is this going to take some time to flesh out? And I mean, across the board, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, are we going to find our way maybe by the end of the year? Are we going to somehow come back, test the lows, give ourselves like this macro double bottom? Like what lies in store, what lies ahead? I don't know. What do you think? You think we just moonshot?
I don't think we moonshot, but I do think we don't retest the current lows.
Like to me,
Uh,
this is best case.
yeah,
Absolute best
I mean,
case.
anything that's easier to trade is best case. So any repetitive chart patterns, perfect. Have you seen is it Jason Mamis? I forget the name. There's some like fractal sentiment, something, something. I'm butchering it, but
Nailed it.
there's some like repetitive fractal where we do have a subversion rally, this bear rally lower. Um, I don't know. Chat, you can Google it and see what I'm talking about. But I have seen that align with this as well. Yeah, I don't hate it. I just don't think. I think the S&P is going to lead everything.
Yeah.
That's a
I
nice chart too.
It's like all eyes on the S&P. Yeah, and I'm showing this because it's kind of early-ish. This is down from the highs of 350.
Yeah, that chart's ugly
So hit 90%, 90%, a casual 90% drop. That's clean.
on a shitcoin. Wait, Coinbase, what?
Wait. Bad comms?
Somebody was asking about the Chiku span on the cloud.
I'm
I
glad. All right,
really, I don't pay attention to it too much,
I'll put it
just in
back on you.
case.
Do you want to
No, no,
show
no,
anything?
it's fine.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't need to show anything. Just answering question about the cloud. I really don't look at it ever, honestly, because my cloud settings are so um I'm always looking at like the 200-day moving average and never the 50 with the cloud. So
Right.
I don't really pay attention to the Chiku span that much.
So if you didn't know time, what would you think? Would you like this, or do you think that's ugly?
I didn't know time.
Yeah. Like if I didn't say this was over 60 days or
Oh, this is you. I actually looked at this because I knew you were going to bring it up. I looked at it. I looked at it a couple days ago, and this like consolidation that we're in
like that.
could be diamond, could be head and shoulders, right?
Yeah. Very true.
It, it wouldn't make sense that it's bearish in the grand scheme of things because it's energy. Double-headed head and shoulders. Um, yeah, but just be careful if it breaks that diagonal, right? I think you
Yes.
just have to be very mindful of that. But
I mean, the kind of the only way I can manage this properly is to say, okay, worst case, this is a bear flag. I mean, a bull flag. That eventually breaks out, but I'm not willing to give it all back. And a fall, like if it falls back into the range, that's my all right. GG, dead
yeah,
trade kind of deal. But
yeah, I think some smart stops are fine, but I would just watch it for sure. But yeah, I like the like white coffee and potential there.
this is another good one that potentially could end up breaking out, melting some faces. But this is PayPal, from $80 to 300 and all the way back. Spending a little bit of time down here, teasing a breakout. So we'll see. I think Monday or, going forward to chat. Did we ever decide like when is the next meeting, the next FOMC? What was it? Wednesday or Thursday? It's one of those. But anyway, I think by then we'll have a pretty clear idea across the board. Wednesday. Flex said Wednesday.
some of the stuff is just, I mean, Zoom is down 87%. It's like at some point, I know people love shorting shit to zero, but at some point,
Yeah. But then it does this. It does like what Tesla did.
yeah, not that I think Zoom is like fundamentally a good company as we're talking on
Right.
Zoom.
Right. Yeah, exactly. As we're actively using their product.
Yeah, I mean, the Tesla rally is insane.
Sushi. A lot of several in chat wanted to look at sushi.
Sushi?
I mean, I
I
think
don't.
it's.
I don't
What do you
think the
think?
question is, are we bullish? I think the question is like, how can you take the most advantage of this stuff to
Yeah.
be like deployed, be nimble, be ready to change your mind. Where are you going to be wrong? Like sushi looks like Link, which looks like it's got that base. Am I confident in the like sushi the product based on the tokenomics? No, but like yeah, there's a trade in there for sure.
And like you were saying, Bitcoin's leading the way right now. It's kind of the steamroller. And if you're watching these alts, you really need to keep your eye on the alt versus Bitcoin pair, because you could put your money in the alt instead of Bitcoin, and before you know it, like this is over just a couple months here. If you made that choice, let's say you just somewhere in the middle there, well, you're down 34% of what you like of the Bitcoin you could have had. You gave up 34%. It's not rising at the same rate Bitcoin's rising, or falling equally. So if you make the wrong move on the Bitcoin pair, I think you end up giving a lot back. Dot. It's another interesting chart on the Bitcoin pair. So yeah, and I think you brought this up earlier, but keep your eye on the Bitcoin pair across the board, or you're just gonna find yourself in a world of hurt, I think. APT, get that out of here. Hey, maybe this is our target.
What?
Whatever this is up in the infinity.
Oh, on Haptos.
Uh-huh. On the Bitcoin pair.
Something else to add to the analysis paralysis is anything against ETH, anything DeFi, especially against ETH. I think is worth watching. Like this sushi ETH chart.
Okay, hold
Um,
on. And okay, on you.
it could be an ascending triangle. It could break lower, but I think it's important to watch it. It's hard for me to, from a fundamental perspective, it's hard for me to think like any DeFi anything is going to outperform ETH because ETH is burning and locking up supply. Like, is anything in DeFi doing that? Sure, I'm sure there's something, and I'm sure it's outperforming. I saw GMX. Let's look at this. What does this look like? Like GMX has done pretty well against ETH.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just be mindful.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Do you
Not
think
you, but
there's any issue with because I've had some people message me about this, that they personally um lost their kind of faith, I guess, in Ethereum due to not just the proof of stake switch because they care so much about proof of work or proof of stake, but it was when what was it where the nodes became something compliant? I'm blanking on the word.
OFAC compliant.
OFAC
Yeah.
compliant. Yeah, that was the one where I got a couple messages and they were like, okay, now I'm like, it's like, oh, I can use this thing as long as, Uncle Sam says it's fine. Like now I feel weird about it. And I'm kind of looking for, what else should I do? You think any of that has any effect on kind of the long term, I don't know, attractiveness to people?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've never had faith in Ethereum. Okay, but I can trade it.
Yeah,
Like,
fair.
I'm not gonna hold it long term. This is the OFAC compliant blocks.
Yeah.
It's gone down a little bit, but it's still 2/3, right?
Wait. So what is this website? mevwatch.info. Chat, if you want
Yeah,
to look at that.
yeah. Um, yeah, of course, it's huge. BTC is the only true like hard money that's not state uh captured, right?
Right.
So far, like forever is a long time, so we'll see if that changes. But so far, ETH is all about getting buddy buddy with a lot of things, you know. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be like the global system that everybody kind of thinks it might be long term for this reason here.
So if that is your conclusion, because it's mine as well, how do you feel about NFTs on the ETH chain? What do you think happens?
I don't know. NFTs aren't my jam. You're asking the wrong guy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on NFTs because I just don't think they're just not in my wheelhouse. They're like, for me, they're like ICOs in like a hundredth of a like liquidity scale. So like they can go to infinity, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. It's just not for me. I just don't touch them.
Fair. Okay.
That's all.
All right.
So it's hard for me to have an opinion that's like intelligent, you know?
I don't have one either. I just was wondering. I know that the last time we talked, I don't know, maybe it was 6 months, a year ago. That was your take. I didn't know if you had anything different now.
No, I don't know how to. I look at NFTs like people outside crypto look at Bitcoin. Like I don't know how to value it. I don't know what they are. I don't know who's using them or why, other than speculation. Yeah, I don't know. It's not
Somebody
for me.
somebody asked me, Kaleo asked me, and I'm gonna ask you because I thought it was an interesting question. If a exchange that you trade on normally, whatever that is, if they suddenly brought up the ability to gamble on what NFT prices do, and they show you charts of buying and selling, and it's like line charts of number go up or down or whatever. Do you think you would ever speculatively trade what the values would do? Never take possession of it, never hold it, but actually like just trade where you think they go?
That's a tough one. I don't know because again, it's so liquid. Like you could just get blown out, right?
Yeah.
Like, would you be long any NFT chart?
No.
Have you looked at like
No.
the floor charts or anything
I,
like that?
Josh, I don't even know how to look at where a floor is. That's where I refuse to go down that rabbit hole. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I wouldn't have an edge there, regardless of like technicals.
Yeah.
I don't know enough to know better, you know.
I do know that it seems like everybody on my Twitter, they're like starkly divided. They either really love NFTs and they're more than happy to just rub your face in it, or they hate NFTs and they're over it. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to talk about it. Like just they can go die in a corner and they wouldn't care. But no one is in the middle. It seems like it's people have picked a side.
Yeah, I don't understand NFT maxis other than these are people who've probably made a ton of money on NFTs, which
Yeah.
is great, but
Good for them.
it's not for me. I don't know.
Well, look, man, I appreciate it. Jeez, we've almost gone 2 hours, so I feel like I'm a Joe Rogan episode. We should probably wrap it up there.
Yeah.
What do you want to shill? What do you want to share with people? Give them your projects or your YouTubes or whatever.
Yeah, you've been doing a great job. Streamlabs, whoever that mod is, Streamlabs mod, huge, doing God's work. Twitter, Carpe Noctem, YouTube, Carpe Noctem, and then Valkyrie YouTube up there as well. Yeah, that's all good stuff. I usually post the chart a day on the Valkyrie Twitter, just
Okay.
some interesting data, so you can check that out. We do weekly stuff, analysis at Valkyrie. We do monthly analysis. We do daily market brief, news aggregation. So if you're interested in any of that, check it out.
Okay. Well, I'll be following your Twitter, your personal Twitter, very closely because I want to see whatever happens next. I want to see how you match and marry that price action with what the cloud is doing. I think that's going to be very telling going forward, especially in the traditional markets as well. So thank you for being here, man. Chat always looks forward to this. It's a must watch for them. And for me as well, because you look at so much stuff that's so important that I never look at. So it's always very refreshing to hear your perspective on things. I'm not trying to be perma bulljack, perma bearjack, just charts jack. Just whatever the charts are telling you, that is all I'm good for. That's all I'm here for. And nothing else. I'm not your hype man. I'm not your bear guy telling you to sell.